My dear friends, imagine for a moment that you could step back from your life and observe it as if you were watching a movie. You see yourself going through your daily routines, experiencing your challenges and triumphs, interacting with other characters in your personal drama. Now imagine that you suddenly realize you are not just watching this movie. You are dreaming it. And more astounding still, you discover that because you are dreaming it, you have the power to change the script, alter the scenes, transform the characters, and direct the entire production according to your will. Tonight I want to reveal to you the most liberating truth you will ever encounter. Your entire life is nothing more than a lucid dream. And you are the dreamer who has forgotten that you are dreaming. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every circumstance you experience is a character, scene, or event in the grand dream of your consciousness. And just like in a lucid dream, the moment you realize you are dreaming, you gain the power to consciously create your experience. This revelation came to me not through philosophy or theory, but through direct experience. Years ago, a gentleman approached me after a lecture, his face etched with the deepest despair I had ever witnessed. He said, "Neville, my life is a nightmare. My wife has left me, my business has failed, my health is deteriorating, and my children won't speak to me. How can you tell people they can change their reality when mine seems so fixed, so hopeless, so completely beyond my control?" I looked at this broken man and I said something that shocked him to his core. "My friend, you are describing a nightmare, not reality. And the beautiful thing about nightmares is that they end the moment you realize you are dreaming them. Your wife's departure, your business failure, your health problems, your children's silence. These are all dream events in the consciousness that you are. They feel real because all dreams feel real while you are dreaming them. But they are no more permanent or unchangeable than any nightmare that has ever plagued your sleep." He stared at me with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "But Neville, I can touch these problems. I can see the empty house, the closed business, the medical reports. How can you say these are dreams?" "Because," I replied, "consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is its dream. Your physical world is not separate from your consciousness. It is your consciousness projected outward like images on a screen. What you call your life is actually consciousness dreaming itself into experience through the vehicle of your individual awareness." I spent the next hour teaching this man the principles of lucid dreaming in waking life. I showed him how to recognize the dreamlike nature of his experience, how to become conscious within the dream of his life, and how to begin directing the dream according to his desires rather than his fears. The transformation was remarkable. Within 3 months, every aspect of his nightmare had transformed. His wife returned with renewed love and commitment. His business not only reopened but flourished beyond his previous success. His health improved dramatically. His children reached out to reconcile. But the most remarkable change was in the man himself. He had awakened to his power as the conscious dreamer of his life experience. You see, what we call waking life and what we call dreams are both states of consciousness. The only difference is that in sleeping dreams, we usually don't realize we're dreaming until we wake up. But in the dream we call waking life, most people never realize they're dreaming at all. They believe the dream is reality, and they are powerless characters trapped within its scenarios. But when you awaken to the truth that life is a lucid dream, everything changes. You realize that every person in your life is a character being dreamed by your consciousness. Every situation you face is a scene being projected by your imagination. Every circumstance you encounter is an event being created by your assumptions and beliefs. This is not metaphor or poetic language. This is literal truth. Just as in your sleeping dreams, every character, no matter how real they seem, is actually an aspect of your own mind, so too in your waking dream, every person you encounter is an aspect of your own consciousness appearing to be separate. When you dream at night and encounter people in your dreams, you don't think they have independent existence outside your mind. You understand they are projections of your consciousness. Yet those same dream characters can seem to have their own personalities, make their own decisions, and even oppose your will within the dream. The dream feels completely real while you're experiencing it. Your waking life operates by the exact same principle. The difference is that the waking dream is more stable, more consistent, and more collective than your private sleeping dreams. But it is still fundamentally a dream, the dream of consciousness experiencing itself through infinite individual perspectives. Let me tell you about a woman who grasped this truth so completely that she transformed what appeared to be an impossible situation. She came to me in tears saying, "Neville, my daughter has been addicted to drugs for 5 years. She steals from me, lies to me, and brings dangerous people into our home. I've tried everything: treatment centers, interventions, tough love, unconditional support. Nothing works. How can I change someone who doesn't want to change?" I said to her, "You cannot change someone else because there is no someone else to change. There is only your consciousness dreaming the character you call your daughter. The addicted, lying, stealing daughter is a character in your dream, created by your own consciousness. But consciousness can dream any character it chooses. Your daughter, as a healthy, honest, loving person, is equally available to be dreamed." She looked at me in confusion. "But my daughter is a real person with her own free will. How can you say she's just a character in my dream?" "In your sleeping dreams," I replied, "do the characters have free will? They seem to, don't they? They make decisions, have conversations, act independently. Yet you know they are all projections of your own mind. Your daughter's apparent free will is the same phenomenon. Consciousness creating the experience of separate, independent characters within its own dream. I taught this woman the principles of lucid dreaming applied to her relationship with her daughter. Instead of reacting to the dream character of addicted daughter, she began to dream the character of recovered daughter. Instead of focusing on the nightmare scenario of addiction, she began to experience the dream scenario of healing and wholeness. Every day she would spend time in conscious dreaming, what others might call visualization or imagination, but which is actually the practice of directing the dream of life. She would dream conversations with her healthy daughter. She would dream scenes of their harmonious relationship. She would dream the feeling of having a daughter who was clean, honest, and loving. But most importantly, she learned to see her actual daughter not as a fixed character with permanent traits, but as a fluid dream projection that could change as her consciousness changed. When her daughter acted out, instead of reacting to the behavior as real, she would remember, "This is a dream sequence reflecting my old consciousness of fear and limitation. I can choose to dream a different scene." The transformation took 6 months, but it was profound and lasting. Her daughter voluntarily entered treatment, successfully overcame her addiction, and rebuilt their relationship with complete honesty and genuine love. The mother had not changed another person. She had changed her dream, and the dream character naturally reflected the new dream consciousness. This is the power of recognizing life as a lucid dream. You stop being a victim of your dream and start being the conscious director of it. You stop reacting to dream events as if they were unchangeable realities, and start creating dream events according to your highest vision. But let me address what might be your immediate concern. If life is a dream, does that mean it doesn't matter? Does that make it less real or less meaningful? Quite the opposite. When you realize you are dreaming, the dream becomes infinitely more meaningful because you recognize yourself as its creator. When you understand that you are the dreamer, every aspect of your experience becomes a reflection of your own consciousness, worthy of your attention and care. Moreover, the dream of life is not a private dream like your sleeping dreams. It is what we might call a shared dream or collective dream. A dream being dreamed by universal consciousness through countless individual perspectives. Your personal dream is interconnected with everyone else's dream, creating the stable, consistent, seemingly objective world we all experience. But within this shared dream, you are still the absolute authority over your personal experience. Just as in a lucid dream, you cannot control every aspect of the dream environment, but you can control your responses, your choices, and your personal dream narrative. Let me share with you the story of a man who understood this principle so deeply that he transformed his entire life's circumstances through conscious dream direction. He was a teacher in an inner-city school, surrounded by violence, poverty, and hopelessness. He said to me, "Neville, I want to help these children, but the system is broken, the community is destroyed, and the problems are overwhelming. How can I make a difference when everything around me is falling apart?" I said to him, "You are dreaming yourself as a teacher in a nightmare scenario, but you could just as easily dream yourself as a teacher in an inspiring, transformative environment. The children, the system, the community, these are all aspects of your dream. Change the dreamer, and the dream must change." "But these are real children with real problems," he protested. "Yes," I replied, "and in your sleeping dreams, the characters also seem to have real problems, but those problems exist within your dream consciousness, not outside it. These children and their circumstances exist within the dream of consciousness, both your individual consciousness and the collective consciousness of which you are a part. By changing your dream consciousness, you participate in changing the collective dream." This teacher began to practice conscious dreaming about his work environment. Instead of seeing himself as overwhelmed by problems beyond his control, he began to dream himself as a powerful, inspiring educator surrounded by eager, successful students. Instead of experiencing his school as a place of limitation and despair, he began to dream it as a place of transformation and hope. But he didn't just dream differently. He began to act from within his new dream. He treated his students as if they were the successful, inspired learners he was dreaming them to be. He approached his work as if he were in the transformative environment he was dreaming. He spoke to parents and administrators from the consciousness of someone whose dream was one of educational excellence and student success. Within 2 years, his classroom had become a model program. His students were achieving at levels no one thought possible. Other teachers were asking him for advice. The administration was implementing his innovative methods throughout the school. The local media was featuring his success story. Had he changed external reality through some mystical power? No. He had changed his dream consciousness, and the dream naturally reflected his new inner reality. This is what happens when you master the art of lucid living. You stop being tossed around by dream events and start consciously participating in dream creation. You stop feeling powerless in your circumstances and start exercising your power as the dreamer of your circumstances. But understanding life as a lucid dream also reveals why change sometimes seems so difficult or slow. In your sleeping dreams, when you become lucid, you can often make immediate changes. Fly, teleport, transform the dream environment. But the waking dream has different characteristics. It has momentum, consistency, and stability that make changes more gradual. This is because the waking dream is not just your personal dream. It's a collective dream involving billions of dreamers. Your personal changes must harmonize with the larger dream structure. But within that structure, you have complete authority over your personal dream experience. Think of it like being an actor who suddenly realizes they're in a play and begins to consciously direct their performance. You can't immediately change the entire play, but you can completely transform your character, your lines, your relationships with other characters, and your personal experience of the drama. I remember a woman who was struggling with this concept. She said, "Neville, if I'm dreaming my husband is critical and unsupportive, why can't I just change the dream and make him loving and encouraging?" I explained to her, "You can change your dream of your husband, but it may take time for the dream character to reflect your new dream consciousness. Meanwhile, you can immediately change your experience of the relationship by changing how you dream yourself within it." I taught her to dream herself as deeply loved and supported, regardless of her husband's current behavior. I showed her how to dream conversations with him from the consciousness of perfect harmony. I guided her to dream feelings of appreciation and connection, even when his words or actions seemed to contradict those feelings. At first, nothing seemed to change externally, but something profound was changing in her experience of the relationship. She was no longer hurt by his criticism because she was dreaming from the consciousness of being loved. She was no longer disappointed by his lack of support because she was dreaming from the consciousness of being supported. And gradually the dream character began to reflect her new dream consciousness. Her husband became more loving, more supportive, more appreciative, not because she had forced him to change, but because she had changed her dream of the relationship, and dream characters naturally reflect the consciousness of the dreamer. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of understanding life as a lucid dream: the recognition that everyone you meet is both a separate being and a projection of your own consciousness. This paradox is resolved when you understand that consciousness is one, appearing as many. But let me address a crucial point. Understanding life as a lucid dream does not mean you can or should try to control every aspect of other people's experiences. Just as in a sleeping dream, other characters have their own apparent autonomy within the dream structure. Your power lies not in controlling others, but in dreaming yourself and your relationships with others from the highest possible consciousness. You cannot dream someone else's dreams for them, but you can dream your shared experiences with them from love rather than fear, from abundance rather than lack, from harmony rather than conflict. And as you change your side of the shared dream, you create space and invitation for them to change their side as well. This understanding also reveals why it's so important to take responsibility for your dream rather than blaming other dream characters for your experience. When you blame others for your problems, you are like a dreamer, blaming dream characters for the content of your dream. When you take responsibility for your experience, you reclaim your power as the dreamer of your life. I remember a businessman who was constantly frustrated with his employees. He said, "Neville, these people are lazy, incompetent, and unreliable. How can I run a successful business with such poor human resources?" I said to him, "You are dreaming employees who reflect your consciousness of limitation and frustration. If you want to dream employees who are capable and reliable, you must first dream yourself as a leader worthy of such employees." I taught him to dream his business relationships from a completely different consciousness. Instead of dreaming himself as frustrated with incompetent employees, he began to dream himself as appreciated by dedicated, skilled workers. Instead of experiencing his role as struggling against resistance, he began to dream his leadership as inspiring, willing cooperation. This brings us to one of the most practical applications of understanding life as a lucid dream: the ability to wake up within difficult or unpleasant dream sequences and consciously redirect them. In your sleeping dreams, when you become lucid during a nightmare, you can choose to fly away, transform the scary characters into friendly ones, or change the entire dream scenario. The same principle applies to challenging situations in your waking dream. When you find yourself in a difficult conversation, you can remember this is a dream sequence and choose to dream it differently. When you face a challenging situation, you can recognize it as a scene in your dream and begin to dream a more positive scene. When you encounter resistance or opposition, you can see it as dream drama and dream harmony instead. Let me tell you about a woman who mastered this technique in her marriage. She said, "Neville, my husband and I have the same argument over and over. It always starts the same way, unfolds in the same pattern, and ends with the same hurt feelings. How can I break this cycle?" I taught her to recognize their arguments as recurring dream sequences, patterns that her consciousness had created and was unconsciously perpetuating. I showed her how to become lucid during these arguments and consciously dream them differently. The next time an argument began, instead of reacting from her habitual pattern, she remembered this is a dream sequence. I can choose to dream this conversation differently. Instead of defending herself or attacking him, she began to dream the conversation as loving and understanding. Instead of experiencing him as her opponent, she began to dream him as her partner in solving whatever issue had arisen. The change was immediate and profound. The argument pattern broke. The conversation became productive and loving. Her husband later said he didn't know what had happened, but something had shifted in their communication that day. This woman had learned to become lucid within her relationship dreams and consciously direct them toward harmony and love rather than unconsciously perpetuating conflict and separation. But perhaps the most profound application of lucid living is in the area of personal identity and self-concept. In your sleeping dreams, you can dream yourself as anyone, a different age, gender, profession, or even species. In your waking dream, you have the same flexibility, though the changes may be more gradual. Most people dream themselves as limited, flawed, lacking, or stuck. But when you realize you are dreaming your identity, you can begin to dream yourself as unlimited, perfect, abundant, and free. You can dream yourself as healthy when you appear sick, wealthy when you appear poor, loved when you appear alone. This is the ultimate gift of understanding life as a lucid dream. The recognition that you are not stuck with any identity, any circumstances, any limitations. You are the dreamer, and the dreamer can dream any dream, become any character, experience any reality. Your health, your wealth, your relationships, your career, your circumstances, all of these are dream elements that can be changed by changing the consciousness that dreams them. You are not the victim of your dream. You are its author, director, and star. But remember, becoming lucid in the dream of life is not about escaping from the dream or dismissing it as unreal. It's about participating consciously and lovingly in the magnificent dream of existence. When you realize you are dreaming, the dream becomes more precious, not less, because you recognize it as the creative expression of consciousness itself. So tonight I invite you to begin the grand adventure of lucid living. Start to see your life as the dream it is, not a lesser reality, but a greater one, because it is reality conscious of itself, reality creating itself, reality experiencing itself through the infinite creativity of consciousness. Begin to notice the dreamlike qualities of your experience. Observe how your inner states create outer circumstances. Watch how changing your consciousness changes your experience. Practice becoming lucid within challenging situations and consciously dreaming them differently. Most importantly, remember that you are not a character trapped in someone else's dream. You are consciousness itself, dreaming the magnificent dream of individual existence while remaining eternally free to change any aspect of that dream through the power of awakened awareness. Life is a lucid dream, and you are the lucid dreamer. What will you choose to dream? As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.